Happy New Year! First video of the year, and today I have done some more piping for you. This time I did it around a curved edge, and I think it's a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get to it. Here we are. Again, we're going to work on piping today. And the bag I'm working on is leather. And I am going to work with piping. The cording that I have is about, I think this is about a 1/4 inch cording, which is a little bit bigger than I normally use, but I happen to have it and I like it. So here we go. I'm not gonna, I've already got the piping all done, but I wanted to show you how I actually do it. So I'm not gonna cut a full piece. So, what I will do is cut it 1 1/4. So I'm gonna take my rotary cutter. I use the lines on my mat to line it up to get straight lines. So we do that. Again, line that up. Sometimes I'll even tape it down to get it straight, but we'll go with 1 1/4. 1 1/4. I think that's one. No, that isn't 1 1/4. See, this is that tricky ruler. Very tricky ruler. There we go. That's 1 1/4. That is what I'm going to do this at because my seam allowances are 1/4 inch. It's just the math, which I'm not very good at math. All right, let's get this out of the way. Then I take 1/2 inch double-sided tape. And you know I eyeball this. Some of you can mark it, but basically I just eyeball it. Okay. Make sure it's good. Flat. Hey, I got a trick too. Sometimes, have you had a hard time lifting the double-sided tape? And I've seen people say it takes body heat or whatever. I found that using a good firm roller on it is what it takes, especially on cotton fabric. For some reason, it has a really hard time on cotton fabric, so I've been using that roller, and it's worked every time for me. Okay, so we got the double-sided tape down. Then I place that right down the center, and then I'm going to line it up so that this folds exactly in half, because you know it's all about precision. Okay, and then make sure that these meet perfectly in half. I can take that roller again, roll it, make sure it's good and tight. And now, well, after I said that, what do? Hold it apart. See, this is what I love. We love to make corrections. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is I've got a skinny foot on my machine. I am not gonna stitch this right against the edge. I'm just gonna stitch it down somewheres here just to keep it in place with a big, huge basting stitch, because my stitching is going to be done with a piping foot, and that way this just stays in line. So it looks like this. Here I have it on the bag. You're going to see this in the next step. But it looks like this. You see the stitching? I don't even use the same thread because no one's going to see it. But that's it. That's how I cut it and get it all ready with the cording inside. And then the next step, you'll see how I put it on on the piece itself. This is my third attempt at filming this. All right, here we go. Okay, so I've got the piping clipped to the bag here. And the reason why this is my third attempt is I keep changing my mind as to where I want the piping to go off the edge. First I had it at 1.5 inches. Oh Lordy. Now I've got it at 1 3/4. And previously when I used to make this bag, I used to like veer it off. And it's such a struggle to get them all 4 of pieces to veer off evenly. So I got this idea from an upholsterer. What I do is I take the spot and I go in and I clip right here. And then I go at a 90-degree angle. And I just turn it right like so. And then I'm going to clip. So it goes perfectly off right there. Okay. And I'm gonna have to take a break. I got company. Okay, I'm back. I don't know where I left off. All right, yes, so clip this side. And then we are going to clip here. Turn this at 90 degrees. And get this. Wow. Look at that. I've got another blooper video here. That never happens. All right. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep rolling. All right. So, oh, you guys. All right, here we go. Clip this. I'm waiting for the clip to break. Clip this at 90 degrees. There's a leaf. I had 2 dogs in here. I'm laughing. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, now we're gonna clip this. Okay, get these out of the way. All right, now I'm gonna baste. Now this is another thing that I do different. In the old days, I used to use the welting foot and I used to stitch this down. I don't do that anymore. The reason being is that the welting foot gets the stitching so darn close, and then when I go to sew my gusset down with the welting foot, that stitching, I can't hide it. So I'm gonna baste this in place inside on top of that stitching that I have basted for the piping. And this is just to hold this in place. All right? Just to hold it in place. And I'm basting it down. So I'm basically going in. This is a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm using a narrow foot on my my Juki 1541. So it's I think it's like a 1/4 inch, 8 inch narrow foot. So it'll sew right along this previous stitching at 1/8 of an inch. And it'll sew right there along that edge without a problem. And I'm going to line it up. And make sure that it's lined up really well. Now see, now I line this up perfectly at 1/8 of an inch. This is 1/4 inch piping. And this way, when I stitch that piping, when I put the gusset on, and when I stitch that piping, this stitching is not going to show, because that, to me, that's the biggest part of the battle, is that this stitching, I don't want that stitching to show. I just want to stitch that piping down and not deal with this previous stitching. Okay, now here I'm getting up to that other side, remember? And now I'm going to turn that in so it's exactly at that spot. Back spooks. Hold it in place. And that's it. Okay. So there you have it. And see how it's turned neatly out? Exactly. Exactly on each side. Here, there you go. So now it's basted in place, and now when I go to do the gusset, I will show you what that looks like. Okay, now I have the gusset pinned in place. I want to point out I have the corners clipped, and when I sew it with the gusset side up, and so the corners are clipped so that it easily curves around the corners. Whenever I sew a straight piece against a curved piece, this is how I do it. I keep the straight piece on top, and I clip around the curved edge. So now I have a 1/4 inch piping foot installed on my machine. I label them. This one says 1/4 inch piping foot, right side. This one works. Trust me, I have tried some other ones and they didn't work for me. My stitch length I have back down to 4. And now I'm going to attempt, and at the rate I'm going, we shall see how this goes. Oh, you guys. I don't know. I have my seam allowances marked on my leather. Okay, now this, okay, I've got my strap connector in place. I gotta be careful not to get it in the way. Okay, now I'm going over the piping, and it's right on top of it now. So far so good. Making sure to keep those seams or the edges lined up. This is where it gets very tricky. Watch your fingers around these curves. The way that looks. I'm going to go back and fix that. This leather has a tendency to bunch up a little bit and move, especially on these corners. Let's see what it's doing on the corners. Lift it up, make it flat. There you go. Watch the clips. Watch your fingers. strap connector. Be careful of that. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this spot that I didn't like down here. Yep, and I'm going to fix this. It. I may take it out. Yeah, I may take it out. But anyway. There you have it. See how this went in pretty perfectly by doing the cut here. Let me get you. Right there, by doing the cut, it goes in really well. So that's what I got. Hope you enjoyed it. Have I ever told you that comparison is the thief of joy? I don't know if I mentioned that in other videos. So often I see someone say something about they don't want to post a picture of their handbag because someone else or everybody else looks better than theirs. And I know I've even thought about that. Like in the old days, I used to see pictures of these bags and I'm like, oh gosh, I could never make a bag like that. Now what I do when I see a bag that looks like, wow, wow, I get excited. I get really excited. Like the thing of it is the reason why I'm doing these videos, the whole reason is, this is why you don't see me doing like whole bags. I will, maybe someday I will, but I'm trying to teach you skill set because skills have utility. And once you learn how to do something, you repeat it over and over and over again. You build confidence. So those of you who don't watch the whole video to the end, and a lot of you are going to cut off about now, you're missing out on. It is. It's all about learning a skill set, having the right tools, and practicing, and believing in yourself, and doing it again. So that's how I'm going to end the video. Comparison is the thief of joy. And if you're not having joy on a day-to-day basis, that's why we sew, is to get out of that stuff outside the window and to have a good time. So enjoy, have a great day, and keep practicing.